we're here for Moana 2, or as it's called at least in Germany, Vaiana 2,
Yeah.
for some odd reasons. Now, in the first 20 minutes or so that I got to see, um, the movie seems to lean, at least in my opinion, a lot more into Polynesian traditions. Was that a conscious choice on your part?
100%. We built off the incredible gift of the first film, and we had an incredible oceanic story trust or cultural trust on the first film that helped showcase the culture in powerful ways. But part of my cultural heritage comes from Samoa. And there was some very key details that I wanted to make sure that we showed in a very specific way. And so in some of the moments that you saw an Ava ceremony where Moana is receiving a title. And Jason can attest to this. We had many, many meetings with many different consultants and different people from various islands to make sure we were portraying this as authentically and sincerely as possible. Because for me, that specificity actually makes things more universal. I think it makes the audience lean in and realize that we are honoring a space and place in a very important way. So yes, there are elements throughout where we tried to be very, very specific to the culture.
Hmm. Now, one thing I loved is that a new god is introduced. And thinking back to the first movie, Te is not actually part of the Polynesian mythology. So, how do you build on that? How do you build a pantheon of gods out of
Uh,
nothing like that?
Well, I think actually it is slightly different than that. But what we do is that there's such incredible stories of the people of the Pacific, all like across all of the many different islands, and so we actually are inspired by them, and we do a lot of research. We read a lot of the stories. We hear from the stories from our consultants, or Dave has an incredible book collection that he would bring in, and part of those things are we like to actually pull things that are from those stories and a lot of the inspiration. We don't want to actually take those same characters from those stories, but we want to be inspired by them. So actually, like Tefiti were a similar way is what we actually did with our character who you were talking about, which is Nalo as this god of storms, and that was another one that was taken from a story and inspired by I should say actually inspired by those characters and those stories that we heard. And it's really powerful. And it actually it grounds it, but doesn't overstep its grounds and say that we're using the same exact the gods. We just want to actually be inspired by them.
Uh, just for me, because I'm a huge fan of different mythologies. Is there a book that you can recommend, Dave? To if you want to dive into the
There's a
stories.
lot.
There are a
Lots of-
lot, and the interesting thing is, the cultures of Pacifica
Mhm.
are oral traditions,
Mm.
and so
Yeah.
the richest histories are spoken. And one of my favorite moments every week is when we got to sit down with our different cultural consultants and just clear the schedule. We're going to talk with Dion Fonotti, who is an expert on everything Samoan, or we're going to meet with Hinano from Raiatea and Tahiti to hear very specifically about cultural methods of making things, also the history of things. And so we are inspired by all of those things. Off the top of my head, there are a lot, Matthias, and maybe I could send you some. But the best thing is talking to elders. The elders are the
Yeah.
keys of the history and the oral traditions.
Mm.
Yeah. Go
Maybe
to the islands and ask around. You'll get some really good ones. I
it's
promise you.
it's all on the schedule for some time in my life. It's quite a huge flight from Germany over there,
It
and
is.
just my wife went to New Zealand for a year,
Oh yeah.
and Moana 1 is one of her favorite Disney movies of all time, maybe the her favorite. So she's really stoked for that, and she always wanted to go back, and that's how she copes with it. So I hope the second one can do that too for her.
We have many of our consultants that actually come from Aotearoa, New Zealand, Maori. They just announced the Te Ao Maori version of this film. So yeah, that's very exciting. And man, I cannot wait for your wife to see this movie. That's so exciting.
I already texted her when I came out of the cinema that she's gonna cry a lot. Now, a new character that is introduced is, and I hope I say her name right, Simea. Is that right?
Yeah.
Simea. And she immediately stole my heart, and probably will do the same with the audiences, with some nice callbacks in the beginning to the first movie. What role does she play in the grand scheme of the story, besides the initial internal conflict of Moana?
Yeah, no, Simea is a special character. As filmmakers, we collaborate, we create together. And we share very vulnerable parts of ourselves to make these stories. And the very concept of Simea came from my own family. My eldest daughter is named Simea. She's 21 years old. And I have a younger son, Quentin. He is 7 years old. Mm-hmm. When we started this story, I mean, Jason will remember, we were in COVID. And so everything was on Zoom like this. And I would talk about how Quentin, at the time who was 3.5, was inseparable from his older sister. They did absolutely everything together. And there was like this crazy emotional connection that they had. And then suddenly, as we came out of the lockdown, he realized that she was growing up and she had to go off to college. And it was so beautiful and difficult to watch him lose that pillar of joy in his life, and watch my elder daughter Simea have to mature and realize that despite the distance, that they will always be connected through love. That was something we wanted to challenge Moana with and give her. And so Simea is a very powerful reminder to Moana of why she loves her people, why she loves her island, and why she will do anything for the future for her people. So we all fell in love with the character of Simea, and we're so glad to have her. When Moana leaves now, she's not leaving in the dead of night. She's leaving with the blessing of her entire community and the blessing of, from her little sister Simea.
Vaiana! Hey, Kleine! Hey, Schwester! Hab ich dich! Du warst so lange weg.
Es waren 3 Tage. Aber ich habe das hier gefunden.
Das ist eine uralte Insel, die von einem machthungrigen Gott verflucht wurde. Wer sie findet, kann den Fluch brechen.
Das ist größer als unsere Vorfahren. Größer als wir alle. Der gesamte Ozean zählt auf uns.